Welcome to LC Screen Talk. My name is Larry, and this is my review of 50 Shades Darker. First of all, I enjoyed 50 Shades of Grey. Definitely more than the online movie reviewing community, as well as the critics, and I would say probably about on par, maybe even a little bit more than the general movie-going audience did. And when it comes to 50 Shades Darker, I think I'm still going to be on the positive side of the collective reviewing sphere, although I didn't like it nearly as much as I enjoyed 50 Shades of Grey. So let's just go ahead and get this out of the way. I am what you would call a desperate, thirsty bitch. Okay. So, going in and seeing something like 50 Shades of Grey or 50 Shades Darker is more action than I get, ever. So, just naturally, it's an exciting time for me. So, being able to know exactly what I'm going into the film expecting and separate the film-going experience and the very specific experience you're getting with these films from the quality of movie itself is an important part of me enjoying the movies. But my view on 50 Shades Darker gets a little bit darker as we go along. So let's just go ahead and talk about what the film gets right first, shall we? First of all, I do think that our two main leads are good here. I think Dakota Johnson continues a very solid performance as Anastasia Steele. I think she was better in the first film. She's asked to actually delve a little bit deeper here, and she doesn't quite pull off some of the deeper emotional moments that we need her to pull off, but she's still game for whatever this series throws at her, and she's able to pull off a very likable, endearing, relatable character. And I think, again, her performance serves as the highlight to the film. But this time around, I think Jamie Dornan brings a lot more color to his performance. First of all, I think the character of Christian Grey lightens up a bit, is able to express more character, thus Jamie Dornan is given a little bit more to work with. I still think there are a few very off moments, but at least he was able to let loose and act a little bit more, rather than just provide a very stern wood board like he did in 50 Shades of Grey. Secondly, I'm already invested into the story, so I'm invested into what's happening between these two characters, and once you get two movies in, I'm already kind of looking forward to the third. By default, you become a fan of the franchise and you look forward to the ensuing films just because you've already invested enough time in these characters. You do need to kind of wrap up what's going on here. You want to see what's happening. You want to see what's coming next. So I do give the film credit for continuing on and actually further developing the storyline between the two. Plus, I don't think there's really much of a pretense of what this film is from the actual filmmaking standpoint. I think that the writer of the books is a huge cancer to the film franchise, and we'll get to her in a second in the negatives. Although it's called 50 Shades Darker, I don't think it takes itself overly serious. I think it understands it's a little bit over the top. It understands it's a little bit ridiculous, and it goes with that. I also don't think it's self-aware enough to really pull off everything it needed to pull off here and be a full-on good time. But it's fun and campy enough that I had a good time with it. But unfortunately, that's kind of where the positives end when it comes to 50 Shades Darker. So I mentioned that the author of the actual books is a huge hindrance here. She pretty much has hijacked the entire production. She got the first director fired and then got this new guy on, and she's really committed to keeping everything to the book, to her creations, and I think that's a huge mistake because the script is a disaster in this movie. First of all, yet again, the dialogue is a mess. We have our fair share of extremely cheesy, ridiculous one-liners throughout the entire film. But furthermore, the way the story unfolds is a mess. Like, it just objectively doesn't flow all that well. And the problem with just adapting the book and not making changes and not allowing a proper screenwriter to elevate your material is that you can tell that this was originated from a fan fiction. You can tell that this came from a erotic novel, because every conflict, every scene, everything in this film ultimately ends up being resolved with a sex scene. No matter how deep the problem seemed to be going, it ends with, hey, but this can be resolved by having sex right now, can't it? And that's a huge narrative problem for a film series to kind of keep repeating over and over again. And it was much, much more prevalent in this film than it was in 50 Shades of Grey. Fortunately, the directing and editing don't help the script at all. So when we look at the poor flow of the film, that doesn't just fall squarely on the shoulders of the screenwriter. It has a lot to do with the director as well, and the editing staff here, who just edited this film together very strangely. But my problem with the director is the shots just, they were nothing special. There's this shot from the helicopter that could have looked awesome, that could have looked grand. Instead, it just looked like cheap green screen effect work. And that's a shame, because then they would go to these shots that were really cool on the boat and kind of looking off there. Or you would hear about like these views, but we wouldn't get to see them. We missed out on amazing conversations and what could have been huge, pivotal, emotional moments of realization. Instead, we actually go away from those conversations. We don't even get to hear them. They're resolved completely off screen, and then everything is fine. And that's just the big problem here. There's no stakes, because either by a sex scene or something happening off camera, everything just ends up fine. We don't have real consequences. We don't have real stakes in the fights that happen. So my next negative is coming from the point of view of a male watching this franchise. A male who is attracted to both men and women. The 50 Shades of Grey franchise is a franchise aimed at women. This is a sexualized romance for women. So I had this problem with the first movie, and unfortunately it's persisting into the sequel. The fact that all of the sexualization and all of the exploitation is of Dakota Johnson. The first movie had her naked like an exorbitant amount of time. And this movie definitely dials back on how often and how much screen time is dedicated to Dakota Johnson and her nude body. It definitely dials back on how much time Dakota Johnson has to spend naked in the film. However, we're still not given any sort of scenery when it comes to the male side of things. And let's just face it, women who are coming to this movie are looking to see some naked Jamie Dornan, some sexy Jamie Dornan in action. Instead, Jamie Dornan refuses to do full frontal, which I think is just obscene for an actor who signed on to do 50 Shades of Grey. Like, come on. You showed this woman head to toe, front to back in that first film, and even in this film, while it's to a lesser extent, we had gratuitous nudity just focused on Dakota Johnson time and time again. And then when we look over at Jamie Dornan and his nudity contributed, part of it is the director, because he just refused to frame the shots in ways that at least gave us something. First of all, Jamie Dornan shows his butt like 3-4 times throughout the entirety of the film. None of them are even good, proper, well-lit, well-framed, nude shots of Jamie Dornan. They're poorly lit when we actually are like in the action, so to speak. Or they're just either a quick flash, or there are shots where he has nothing on, but, you know, we get like the little tease of like up, and then on the back we're given like just like this weird top of butt crack area. It was weird. It's like, why are you framing this like this? Why can't you frame it to where the full butt is like right here in the scene, and then she's over here, and you get that whole composition? And this movie had plenty of opportunities, and they just kept shying and shying and shying away from showing Jamie Dornan. They had so many sex scenes, and it just baffles me that a movie aimed at women about a sexually explicit romance won't show a naked man. And they will, time and time again, show a naked woman. It baffles me. It's sexism at its finest. I don't understand, and it really frustrates me. So ultimately, 50 Shades Darker is definitely a step down, in my personal opinion, from 50 Shades of Grey. Pretty much on every front, it was not as good as its predecessor. But the thing is, it's still overall, it's kind of a good time. When you go into the film, you know what you're getting. There's no pretense about what it is you're about to experience. So I think if you've seen the first one, I recommend you go see this in the theater. I think you will enjoy it, especially if you did enjoy that first one. I still think you'll have a good time with this one. And if the thought of just going out to see kind of a sexually explicit romance excites you and sounds like a good time, it's going to be a good time to you. I don't think that you're going to have a bad time with this film. But if you watch the trailers and you just roll your eyes at the idea of 50 Shades of Grey and 50 Shades Darker, skip it. I don't think you're going to like it at all. I think that it'll be a chore for you to even sit through. Personally, I think it's worth a matinee ticket. I think it's fun. I think it's a good time. But had a lot of work that needed to be done. But really, my honest opinion, you know what you're getting yourself into when it comes to 50 Shades Darker. So whatever it is you're thinking when you hear the title 50 Shades Darker, it's probably what you're going to experience watching the film. So it's pretty easy for you to make up your mind there. So that has been my review of 50 Shades Darker. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, go ahead, click like down below and subscribe to the channel so you are always up to date on our latest videos. Also, join in on the discussion. Are you excited to see 50 Shades Darker? And what did you think of the first one? Let me know either in the comment section down below or hit me up on Twitter. I love you all so much for your support. Mwah! Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!